Hello, thank you for joining us tonight. So this program is presented by Tufts Hillel, Student Accessibility Services, and Tufts Friends of Israel Student Group. We wanted to welcome Nataly Zukerman, who is the artist in residence at Israeli Stage. We're so excited to host this event tonight, and let's welcome her.
So, as you all know by now, my name is Nataly Zukerman. In 1990, when I was 12, I had an accident. It's not a car accident. Well, I think it's quite a stupid accident. It was an accident in the Scouts. We were sent to a summer camp up in the north of Israel, and we built, in accordance with the annual issue that was the Israeli army, we built a tank from big logs of woods. This is where we all slept. It was Saturday morning, and I was sent to the kitchen to work. Now, the kitchen was really far away, and I was really afraid of people I didn't know. I was 12. Well, thinking about it, actually, even today, I'm a bit timid of people I don't know. So I lied. I said I had to bring something out of my bag. When I entered the tank, I heard, "Nataly, watch out." And then the tank fell on me, the structure of the tank. I broke a vertebra in my back. I was paralyzed. I was hospitalized for about 6 months, and I had to learn to walk again. I walked with crutches until I was about 16. Even today, it still affects me. I limp. I can't run. I can't jump. I can't climb the stairs without any help. Hi, my name is Nataly Zukerman. In 1990, when I was 12, I had an accident and I broke a vertebra in my back. At night at the hospital, my mom asked Dr. Hanani, 1 meter 90 centimeters, 6'2", if I would dance again. If she walks again, I will be pleased. I broke vertebra L1. It's located around here. It was broken completely and was thrown into the trash. It was replaced with a bone taken from here, my left pelvis. The vertebra above it got twisted and it had to be put back in its place. The surgeon took the two vertebrae together, the new and the old, and put 2 metal plates on both sides of my spine and left me with a scar. Actually, a few years ago, I had an x-ray and they found out that one of my metal plates is broken. My name is Nataly Zukerman. In 1990, when I was 12, I had an accident in the Scouts and I broke a vertebra in my back. I was paralyzed. I was hospitalized for about 6 months. I had to learn to walk again. I walked with crutches until I was about 16. Even today, it still affects me. I limp, I can't run, I can't jump, and I can't climb the stairs without any help. Today I'm 39, almost 40, and I graduated from Tel Aviv University, finishing my master's in performance. In one of the lessons, I did a small performance piece, and at the end of it, Naama, one of my good friends, she said to me, you always choose deliberately action that emphasize your disability. Thank you. March 1991 till 1992. Dr. Shemesh, Professor Melamed, Professor Shako, age 13. There is no doubt that her physical limitation undermined and disrupt her everyday routine and her integration in different social settings. She should be given psychological evaluation and follow-up support once or twice a week to accompany her integration in various social settings. In the X-ray given to her on her release day from the hospital, a satisfactory recovery of the fracture was shown. She does not participate in sports lessons, she doesn't go to the beach, and she doesn't go on school trips. The plaintiff will not be able to work at a job that requires standing and walking. She'll be able to work full-time, only in a position that will allow her to sit down, according to her education and skills. The plaintiff seems to be mentally stable, and there is no need for therapy. In 2000, I moved to Scotland to study performance. In the first scene of one of the shows I performed in, we were asked to walk like runway models. Pamela, the director, also a very good friend of mine, asked me if I wouldn't mind to open the show, to open the runway, in order to emphasize my limp in comparison with the normal walk of the other models' performance. It was a great success. Everyone thought it was a former model. So the next night she came and said to me, "Would you mind exaggerating your limp? It just didn't really work last night and no one noticed it." A social worker, Gidon Haas, December 1992, age 13. In my opinion, this is a girl who is highly motivated, socially accepted by her peers, and is not feeling sorry for herself. She doesn't suffer from depression, she doesn't keep to herself, and I think she accepted the situation in a very positive way. In my opinion, supported also by Professor Shako, she does not need therapy or psychotherapy. Moreover, I think the victim can serve as an example of a successful rehabilitation. When she will grow up, she will acquire a profession and will become a positive role model in society. Until a few years ago, I used to go on quite a lot of blind dates. Now, I don't want to sell them a pig in a poke, because eventually the question arises, what happened to your leg? And then what do I answer? So, I would like to tell you about a blind date I had with this guy called Tal. He was quite tall, really good looking, and I think he really liked me too because we flirted. And while we were talking, he asked me, what am I working on now? So I told him about the other body and about my injury. And as I'm talking, I noticed that he seeps deeper and deeper into his chair. His facial expression ranges between discomfort and agony. Tal, is everything okay? I feel like I'm drowning, but you go ahead, it's your story, it's not mine. Tal, it's nothing. It's the same story that I've been telling since I was 12. Hi, my name is Nataly Zukerman. In 1990, when I was 12, I had an accident in the Scouts and I broke a vertebra in my back. I was paralyzed. I was hospitalized for 6 months. I had to learn to, it's nothing. It doesn't feel like it's nothing. Not really the kind of answer you're looking for in your first date. But somehow I managed to get us out of it. We talked about Shakespeare and Hamlet, if it's relevant to stage of today or not relevant, but it wasn't really the same. When we got up to leave, my leg really shivered. Now, go and explain to him that when I'm nervous, I shiver much more, therefore I limp much more. Yes, I can see that you're limping. Okay, quite positive that was the end of the date, but then he turned around and said, do you want me to come over? No. I mean, I have to get up really early tomorrow because I teach. Do you want to come maybe another night? Silence. You know what, Tal, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a kiss on the cheek, a hug, and I'm going to go. Okay? Okay. Thank you. I'm going to sit down while I'm talking. It's quite hard for me to stand up, so I hope it's okay. Well, I'm Nataly Zukerman. I think you all know that by now. And what you just saw is a part of a show called The Other Body. It's a very small part. It's the show is actually 1 hour and 20 minutes long, so that's a very small part of it. And in the last few years, I've been making 2 shows. One is The Other Body, and the other one calls Practice Makes Perfect. And they're both can be placed under the category of disability arts or artability. I would just say that in Israel, we don't have that kind of category. We don't even have a name or a title for it. And only at the age of 34, I did my first show. And I placed myself in center stage, and I called myself disabled. And I was trying to ask myself why. Why only at the age of 34 I could do that? So in a way, my talk today is about the journey I went through and the difficulties and the insights I gained until the moment I could have said and call myself disabled artist or disabled even as a human being. I would actually be able to own this term. So as any good story, we will start at the beginning. I was born in 1978, the eldest daughter out of 3 to Norit and David. In Israel, beautiful house, picket fence, dog, few cats. We've got dogs and cats we talked about before. And I had a really good, normal childhood, I was very creative and I loved singing and dancing. My aunt likes to tell the same story every year, that in every family occasion, I made everyone, the whole of my family, dance in every family occasion, the hokey pokey. And my dad actually found not so long ago a cassette that I recorded when I was like 10 maybe, or even younger. And I've been singing and making all those kind of songs and thinking I'm in the Eurovision contest or something like that. And I danced. I danced in every possible studio in the area where I grew up. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a ballerina. But I wasn't just like dancing, I was very physical. I was in the running team at school, I was practicing gymnastics. And I walked the fastest. Everyone knew that Nataly walks the fastest. But my dream was to be a ballerina, and I remember this huge crisis I went through when my old dance teacher, didn't let me learn how to stand on my toes like a ballerina. Obviously, I was too young. But I was so offended that I didn't want to go back, and my mom had to make amends between the 2 of us in order for me to go and dance again. So that was the kind of crisis that I went through at that age. And then, at the age of 12, as you heard, I was injured. And that is a moment when I realized I won't be able to dance again. And it broke my heart. And I was like, I don't want to talk about dancing anymore. I don't want to hear about dancing. My mom said to me that I got this beautiful gift, like 2 ballet shoes. And I asked her, where is it? And she said, I had to throw them away because you didn't even want to see it. I just didn't want to know anything about it. But dance, I don't know if it's faith or destiny, had kind of a way to call back into my life. And while I was in the hospital, the bed next to me was a dancer and choreographer called Tamar Borel. Borel is a very well-known dancer and choreographer in the Israeli dancing. And around the time I was injured, she was in a car accident and she remained paralyzed and she's in a wheelchair. And I adored her. She's still now, until I'm a quite scary woman, and I was really tiny, but I was remember sitting next to her bed like that, looking at her. I really adored her. I wanted to be her. And I could see she was struggling with her condition, and how can she dance again? After her release from the hospital and until today, she makes work. She dances and she choreograph works in her wheelchair. And I couldn't believe it's actually possible to do that. A few years after I was released from the hospital, I met my old dance teacher. And she told me that she just went to see Tamar performs. So I was really excited. I was like, how was it? And she said to me, Tamar should leave the dancing for the dancers, and what I think she does is not considered to be dancing. And that phrase really stuck with me. You know, it kind of, I was like, oh, she's right. The stage is a place for those who can, and I couldn't. So the dream was over. And I knew I had to find a way to heal. I had to find a way to still be on stage. So I decided I want to study acting. I was 14 and I asked my mom to enroll me into an acting class. But you have to do an audition first. I will never forget that day. It was actually an auditorium quite similar to this, but with a stage. And I had my crutches. I was working with crutches at the time. And I went up on the stage. And there was one woman, she was sitting where the camera is. That was the drama teacher. She was there. And I went on stage, put my crutches down, sat on a chair, because, again, my favorite friend. And the whole of the auditorium were blacked out. There was only one light, and that light was on me. And I started my monologue, and she looked at me. And I absolutely loved it. I loved that moment. And I realized at that moment that that was the first time I enjoyed someone watching me. Because I want you to understand, I was 14 and I was walking with crutches. And that's a situation that makes a lot of people look at you all the time and stare at you. So I had doctors examining me on a weekly basis, physiotherapists touch me on a daily basis almost at that time. Private investigators who followed me on behalf of the Social Security Office and different insurance companies. So I had to really close the doors and close the windows every time I did something that might look like I can do something. So that was something that was really kind of stressing me at the time. And you know, people down the streets or kids at school pointing, I could see them gossiping. And it's really the kind of age that you want to disappear. You don't want the people looking at you. And you know, that was like a very little example, but think of it, the disabled person performs on a daily basis. Let's say, I don't know, a person in a wheelchair boarding a bus, okay? It means that the bus has to stop, the driver has to get off, at least that's like that in Israel, to take the ramp down, put it like a little stage. The person in the wheelchair has to board the bus, everyone looks at him, like an audience looking at an actor. So when you're a teenager in that situation, that's a very, very intimidating experience. So on stage, it was the first time I controlled the gaze. I can control what you see of me and how you see me. But the outside world, I don't have that, you know, it's a privilege that I didn't have. So as a child, what happened is I always walked like that, my head down. And I always thought to myself, well, if I don't see them, therefore they will not see me. If I don't look at them, they will not look at me. So I felt I'm safe when I'm like this. But I have to say, not everyone was like that, and a lot of people were very supportive. But still, when I was 16, the minute the doctor said you don't have to walk with crutches, only if you want, I put them aside, and I loved it. I absolutely loved that feeling that no, I've got a disability. I could pass as someone that doesn't have a disability. But like I said, many other people were lovely and they were very supportive. Like my school, for example. I had a special car drive taking me every morning to school. Due to my back pains, I suffered from many, many back pains at the time. I couldn't go to school a lot. So it was all approved by my teachers in advance. I couldn't run or do a lot of physical activities, so I was exempt from sports lessons. And also from high school trips. I didn't, it was like involve hiking, and in Israel they take you over to the desert or to the mountains at the north, so it's quite physical. And at the time, I thought that was amazing. They really accommodated my needs. But in retrospect, when I think about it, it meant I was excluded from almost any activities. I was studying with my peers, but social activities that in Israel we do a lot, I stayed at home. And now I'm a teacher. And I'm on the other side of the spectrum, and I'm like, why? Wasn't it just the easiest way out? I know that myself as a child, I always said, no, I don't want to do that, I can't. And they were like, yes, of course, if you can, that's fine, sit aside. It really felt at the time that they really saw my needs. But now, could they not change the curriculum? I do Pilates really well. And yoga, I'm quite good at yoga. They can change the curriculum in order for me to take part. Or even school trips. Okay, so when Nataly's coming, we won't go hiking, we will go to a museum. They could change it. But it kind of made sense, even to me and for them, they'll stay at home. And that's the way it was until I was about 18. At the age of 18, I graduated, and in Israel you go to the army, everyone. Again, excluded, being told I can't be drafted. So, okay, that's fine. I would go and study acting. And started phoning many acting schools. But again, didn't really work out that well. I remember phoning one of the biggest acting schools in Israel and was asked why I didn't go to the army. Told them, hi, my name is Nataly Zukerman. When I was injured when I was 12, had an accident in the Scouts, the same story over and over again. Can you do movement lessons? I don't think so. Well, I'm not sure. Well, we're really sorry, but we won't even be able to let you audition. And those are the kind of answers that I got. And I was like, okay. I did actually got in to one of the schools. I got to the preparatory program. Not first year, but a step in. And don't get me wrong, I knew my ophelia will always limp. And then the perception is that an actor needs to be versatile. An actor needs to be able to embody different characters, different characteristics. On one hand, an actor needs to be a chameleon, but on the other hand, there is something called typecast. So how many limping characters do you know? I know 3. Oedipus, Richard III, and Laura. Yeah, 3 characters that I know. So, when on the Israeli theater scene, I didn't really see any disabled actors, or in the cinema, or in the dancing, never. I read this article a year ago, because I thought maybe, things have changed. 20 years ago, I'm almost 40, I'm sure things have changed. But I read this article a year ago with this emerging disabled actress. I would call her emerging disabled actress. She probably would say she's an emerging actress. I would put that on her. And she was talking about her ordeal of getting into different acting schools in Israel. Again, the same as me. She actually managed to get an audition, but she was refused to all of them. So she said, I'll do an experiment. And in the last audition, she lied. She said that she twisted her ankle because she's got a limp. Guess what? She got in. 2 weeks later, when they realized her twisted ankle isn't going away, and it's still there, she was called to the office of the head of the school. And she was told she's on probation. Not because she lied. She was on probation because they told her that they're not sure there is space and room for a disabled actress in the Israeli theater scene, and they need to see how it works. She did actually graduate and she performs now in this film, and that's why they did this huge, obviously, article in the newspaper to show her overcoming story of how amazing now she is. Anyway, so those are kind of like information that I got. If you want to be an actress, don't really, what would you do? You're really good though. Go and be a director. Go to be behind the scenes. And that's what I did. So I went to enroll into a seminar kibbutz in college, and I studied directing. But also there, you have to do movement classes. Again, no one fight for me, and it was fine that Nataly won't do it, and I didn't want to. It was too painful. To see people actually moving when I can't, that was like... So I was like, that's fine, I don't need to take part. But something changed in my last year. We were asked to create a performance in which we introduce ourselves to our classmates. And I was like, well, we've been together for 3 years. So what do they not know about me already? So, couldn't find any characters. It's like, okay, you know what? I'll be myself on stage. And I would perform actions they never saw me do before. And I danced. It was 10 years was the last time I danced before. And I invited people from my classmates to dance with me on stage. And in another segment, I exposed my back and I asked people to color paint my scar. And I remember people crying at the back. And I was like, wow, that's got an effect on people. I'm interesting. I've got an interesting story to tell. But I knew that in Israel, you know, that's not, I never saw those kind of stuff on stage at that time. It's like, okay, where can I go? And I decided to go abroad and study in Scotland, like I said before. And it was also another way of, you know, gaining my independence, because when I was a child, I was so sheltered by my parents because of my disability, then, you know, I wanted to find my own kind of way in the world. And that was my opportunity. And I studied the Divine Theatre, which is more similar to what I do now, and performance art, and it was all based on group work and collaborative process. First day, first lesson, playing tag. Obviously, I can't play tag. So went to my in England you say tutor. Went to the professor, and I was like, hi, my name's Nataly Zukerman. In 1990, when I was, you know, the same story, and he goes, okay, and continued to ask me questions. Now, I'm used to, when I say that, for people to go, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, that look of, oh, I'm so sorry. You, of course, you don't have to take part, you can sit aside. And I was sure that that's what he's going to say, but he didn't. You know, think how much anxiety that produces for a person that every time I have to go and tell my story. Even if I don't want to, but I have to. So I do that at least once a week since I was 12, you know. It's like, it's a very, many times I've been telling the same story. So that anxiety that produced that, you know, I don't want people to know that I've got a disability. I want to disappear. I want to be like everyone. And it always singles me out. Oh, that girl that can't do this, and that's why she has to sit aside, and then he has to tell everyone. And I was so stressed, but he didn't. He kept asking questions and then tell me, you have to take part. Like, what do you mean? He said, we will change the rules of the game. The games won't define us, we will define the game. Okay, that's the first time I've heard anyone say something like that. Now I know what it means. Now I know it means that there isn't any those who can take part and those who can't. Everyone can take part. We just have to be very creative in finding new rules. That really changed the way I look at my body and the way I think of inclusion. Because I was like, does that mean I never took part? You know, it really sparked so many questions and so many ideas, and I started doing movement. I started taking movement classes. I didn't have a choice. I had to. It wasn't easy, not from the professors, because they came from the acting school, and you know, actors needs to be. But it was really interesting the process that they went through and I did, because we all had to be very creative in adapting exercises. And all of a sudden, I realized that maybe I can't do the exercise as they think I should, but actually, when I'm failing, it's really beautiful. My failure is really lovely. The way I shiver, the way my legs shiver, no one can shiver like me. You know, there isn't any actress that can do that. I'm the only one that can. So all of a sudden, this idea of failure became an ability, becomes something that, I'm the only one that can do that. And I could see how it affected me and them. I really remember one of the exercises that we were asked to choreograph a dance. And I made a dance with a chair, Bjork in the background. And I remember the surprised look on his face. He was so proud of me because it was actually good. And gradually I managed to shed this idea that I need to be behind the scenes. I need to be in that little closet behind the scenes, you know. There is a value about seeing other bodies on stage. There is a value about me being there. At the same time, I realized that I never, ever associated the word disability with my situation. I was the girl with the limp. And that was that. My parents never treated me as being disabled. I didn't have any disabled friends. Remember I told you about my car drive to school every morning? There were other disabled kids with me. I don't remember any of their names until now. I excluded them. In hospital, I had a diary that I wrote. In the diary, I referred to myself as being almost disabled. Because Liat, the girl who was lying next to me in the hospital, she was a miserable one who was in a wheelchair, and I got out of it. And also, all the other people in the hospital said that about me, because I got a lot of, physiotherapy. I was the one who will start walking again. I was not disabled. So that was the atmosphere I grew up in. It was okay, I need to start dealing with the word. I need to start claiming it. And when I moved back home, I remember talking to some of my friends, referred to myself as having a disability, and they jumped. They were like, "You're not disabled." And that's a phrase I've heard a lot since. It's like, yes, I am. No, you're not. And I have to say, I was a bit flattered when they said it, because, I don't want to be disabled. But I was like, why are they so afraid of the word? I was like, why? So I decided to go on a journey when I joined university, and I wanted to understand why we're so afraid of that word. And in my research, I came across this book, and they were talking about how the world is divided into two groups of people. Those who are disabled now, and those who will be disabled in the future. Which means we are all on the disability spectrum. A few years, hip replacement, a caretaker, a nursing home. And when we see a person with a disability, we are afraid because of the possibility that we will be him or her. And that's why we're so scared of the disabled. So I wanted to deal with it, and I wanted to make work about it. And I suddenly said, where does my disability perform itself in the everyday life? Because at home, I don't feel disabled at all. I wouldn't define myself at home disabled, because everything is according to my own needs. But the minute I step outside, that's when my disability arises its head. My biggest enemy is the staircase. Any staircase. I hate staircases. Because most people, when they walk up and down, they don't really need to think about it, they just do it. When I have to do it, I have to really think about it, really concentrate, and I have to use the railing. Otherwise, I can't. And I hate that moment when you go into a staircase and then there is a sign saying fresh paint. And I'm like, shit, what am I going to do now? And then I have to walk like a little child, when they're two, they go like one step at a time. That's the way I do it. And then that's the way it feels to me, that everyone's looking at me. And then again, I've got the disability and everyone noticed me. So I realized that the staircase for me is what makes me disabled. It's a barrier fence between those who can and those who can't. And in this specific case, if we'll decide that the whole of, our cities will be built as a spiral, we won't have that problem. I've been to the aquarium today, it's just one big spiral, so everyone could go up together. There's no sign next to it. If you've got a trolley, if you've got this, you have to go there. Everyone goes together. Well, at least in that case, there's so many disabilities, so maybe I'm missing someone. But at that moment, that will be amazing. So I found out the busiest staircase I could find, and I put my beautiful black dress, and I start walking up and down. But I wanted to do it like an able person does. So every time I missed a step or almost fell or didn't do it properly, I had to do it again. So from a 5-minute piece, it became a 3-hour piece. It became a durational piece. And I was asked to perform it in the Jerusalem Cinematheque. I don't know if you know it, but it's a building, and in the middle there's a huge staircase. It was a disability art festival. So placed myself in the middle of the staircase, bare feet, and then I walked up and down, and people walked up and down with me, but I was much slower than everyone else, and I became the element that interferes in the flow of the crowd. And I could hear people sometimes shouting at me, I think you should stop, you should move. And I just to remind you, it's an art disability festival. Or people saying to me, do you need help? Which was really nice. Or people saying to me, but you should take the lift. And in the corner of my eyes, I could see this guy standing there, and he was with his crutches. And I could see him because he was there for about 3 hours when I did it. And at the end, I came and spoke to him, and he said he's got cerebral palsy. And he said to me, it's exactly my experiences of the everyday life. This is what I hear on a daily basis, and I don't want to take the lift, I want to take the stairs. That was the first time that a person with that we would all define as disabled said to me that we share the same experience, that we share the same feeling. I was like, wow, I have a community. I have someone that can relate to what I've been going through, because I thought I was alone. I didn't know that other people feel like that. So, okay, that means I need to stop hiding and I need to start claiming my rights. And that was a turning point, because that was a point I was like, okay, I need to make work about it. And I need to put that in center stage. And that was the moment when I started to create the Other Body. And I put my black dress on, and I stand in the middle of the space with a sign over my head saying I'm disabled. All those experiences and all those difficulties led me to where I am today. And maybe there aren't enough, disabled characters, especially limping. But I think that being myself on stage and seeing other bodies on stage, it's the most important thing that we can do in order to start changing the way society looks at us and about inclusion. Thank you very much for listening to me today.